Hello you guys, my name is Lexi. I've been working here at DDH for about 4 years, and this is Reina. Reina is going to be my helper for today. I was riding Reina earlier today and I noticed that she was what we call sticky, meaning she didn't want to move in the direction that I'm indicating. She just kind of wanted to hold still. So today we're going to work, she was specifically sticky with her hindquarters, so that's what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to start off on the ground to kind of warm her up, and then I'm going to get in the saddle. She was pretty good earlier today when I was doing everything on the groundwork, so I think we just need to mostly work on the saddle. But we're going to warm her up, make sure she's all good, make sure she's golden, and then we'll move on, okay? You guys have questions so far? Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do, she's following me right now, but I'm going to ask her to move her hindquarters. I'm actually going to move her around just a little bit so you guys get a better angle. So I'm going to ask her to move her hindquarters by standing back here. Right here we have the drive line. It's kind of hard to tell because I've got my saddle on, but essentially if I follow this line down here where my latigo and my cinch is, that's going to be my drive line. So I'm going to stand back behind the drive line because I'm going to ask her hind end to move. I'm going to gently tip her nose towards me and lean towards her hip. What she should do ideally is plant this front leg that's closer to me, and then she's going to have to move her outside front just a little bit because just like you and I, there's only so far she can go before she's going to get all tangled up. So she's got to pivot on one foot and move that other front foot around it to be able to make a circle. Then what she's going to do is with this inside hind, she's going to bring it in front of her outside hind and cross them over. Again, that's ideally. We'll see if we need to correct her into it. If we do, I'm just going to add more pressure towards her hip to encourage her to move a little bit faster. That should help her plant this foot and cross those back feet. Does that make sense to you? Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to tip her nose towards me. I'm going to lean forward. She didn't, oh, she thought about going. She went back instead of sideways, so I'm going to smooch at her just a little bit. And then right there, she kind of like pulled her nose away from me, so I just gently bumped her halter. She's doing pretty good. I might use the tail end of my lead rope to tap her just a little bit if she's, right there she got sticky, so she didn't want to move anymore. She took a couple good steps initially and then decided she had enough. So I'm going to rub her, let her know she did a good job there at the end. Then we're going to go ahead and we'll try again. I usually will stand here for just a second and rub them before I ask them to move, just to teach them that just because I'm moving into position doesn't mean they need to move with me. I'm going to make sure her nose is at me though. Good girl. So now I'll tip and lean. She's kind of backing up, so I'm going to pull her nose away a little bit more. And I'm going to kind of pull my hand a little bit higher just so she tips her nose a little bit better. So that one was really good. Good girl. So then we'll come over to the other side. Horses have their eyes on opposing sides of their head, so there's not much that they can see around back behind them, and there's only a limited amount of stuff that they see out of both eyes in front of them. So pretty much when we move to the other side, they're looking at us through a different eye. So we want to make sure we do everything equally. The other part to that is their muscles will develop differently. If I just yielded her hindquarters on her left-hand side the whole time, she'd have nice big muscles over on this side of her body, and she'd have lower muscles on this side. So it helps work her muscles evenly, it helps her see everything out of both eyes, and it uses both parts of her brain. It's a little bit loose there. So same thing, I'm going to kind of sit back here, love on her because she's holding still. I'm going to tip that nose just a bit. I'm going to lean forward now, kind of smooch at her. Good. This side was really good. Good girl. So I'm only releasing her, meaning I'm petting her, after she plants that foot and takes a handful of good steps with her hind end. If this were a horse that was young or was learning, I'd make them take one good step and then that was it. Or if they were really, really struggling, I might just wait until they plant their front foot and then not worry about them crossing their back feet. Once they get good at planting their front feet, then I'll worry about their back feet. So sometimes we got to divide what we're asking and keep that in mind with younger horses or horses that don't know as much. So right there, she got a little apprehensive. I hadn't leaned forward yet. I just was asking her nose to tip. So I'm gonna stand right here and just kind of wait. She's kind of being like, I know what you're asking. She kind of got my space there. Stop. Thank you. So I'll ask her to tip her nose again. She wants to back, so I'm not gonna release my pressure. I'm gonna kind of bring my hand up and be like, no, don't crowd my space. There we go, there's, oh, she thought about it. She started tipping it and then she moved right out the last second. Ooh. So right now I'm just asking for that nose tip. I'm not actually asking for her legs to move. So since she's moving without me asking, we're gonna take a break and just wait for her to give into my pressure a little bit. There we go, she tipped just slightly, so now I'm gonna love on her. Good girl. So now I'll ask her to tip. And then same thing, she backed up, so we'll just wait for her to tip her nose. There we go, she tipped now. So now I'm gonna ask her to move. Good girl. She wanted to lift that foot up, so I'm actually gonna slide my hand down just a little bit. Good. I can actually change how fast she goes or how slow. She's going pretty slow right now, so if I want her to increase her speed, I'm going to increase my speed. I'm gonna stand up a little bit straighter and walk straight towards her hip, and she should go a little bit faster for you. Good girl. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of change how we're asking her to yield her hindquarters. So I'm gonna come stand right about here, kind of in the same spot, and then closer to her hip, I'm gonna take my thumb and just gently push it into her. If I had my spurs on me, I'd use my spurs and just tap her right here so she gets used to the feeling of the spurs. A very common misconception is that spurs are created to hurt. That's not the point of spurs. Spurs are meant to help get you a little bit more reach towards whatever body part we need to ask. Typically it's when we're reaching back, so short people like me don't always have the reach to be able to come back here and squeeze them. Some people do, and that's a-okay, but it just creates it so we don't have to move our legs quite so much. A lot of people use them for speed, and there are times where that's okay, like barrels and poles, sometimes they need them, but different spurs do different things too. So you want to make sure you're getting the right spur for the right job. You good girl. All right, so I'm just gonna stand here. I'm gonna gently squeeze through my thumb. She's not wanting to go, so I'm gonna smooch at her. She says, I'll flex. It's a step in the right direction, but not quite what I want. Good girl. So then she went ahead and wiggled. So I like to rub them wherever the pressure was. I went up here initially and that was a mistake on my end, but I'll just rub where the pressure is and tell her she did a good job. She's like half asleep over here. One thing that I like to challenge my horses with once I get to this point of yielding the hindquarters is not tipping their nose so much. The reason being is we do a lot of ranch work, and so sometimes we don't always have our hands available to be able to use our reins. Sometimes we're roping or opening a gate or something. So I want my horses to listen primarily off of my leg pressure. I might correct them with my reins if I need to, but at this point, I want them to start listening just to my leg pressure. So she's not going, I'm kind of tapping her a little bit with my thumb. I'm not tapping her super hard or anything. Good girl. Oh, chief. We'll come back over here a little bit. So I'm gonna stick on this side for just a little while, just because she's like taking some kind of choppy steps. I want to get it nice and fluid before I move on to the next kind of pressure, or before adding in more steps. Good girl. That one she did pretty good. Good girl. Good girl. So just those two, after I mentioned that, were really good. So we'll move on to the other side. I'm gonna tip her nose back to me to make sure she's paying attention to me. Good girl. So right there, she kept wanting to back up, so I just tipped that nose at me. as a correction, and she immediately went into that good turning. So that was nice on her end. And I'm having an active body language as I do this. So I'm kind of leaning forward at her just a bit so she understands to move. Good girl. I'm gonna wait on that one because she wanted to like take her steps out. There we go, good girl. All right, she's doing pretty good on that. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. I'm gonna put her bridle on and get up into the saddle, and we'll work in the saddle. If you guys remember from a couple videos ago, Reina had a hard time getting the bridle on. She's doing a lot better now. So hopefully you guys can see that progress as we put this bridle on. So we'll go ahead, we'll put our halter over her neck. That way if she leaves, I have something to grab a hold of. You just gotta watch out and make sure they're not getting their foot caught in here. So typically I keep my hand on my halter, or at least stay close to it so I can grab it and make sure they're not dropping their head down and getting a foot caught by accident. But I'm gonna go ahead and take my hand, I'm gonna put my thumb up between her ears, and then over on the other side I'm bringing my fingers around her ear so that I can gently push her nose towards me, but keep my thumb up here so she goes down a little bit. Good girl. I'm gonna rub her there because that's where she's struggling to keep her head. And then I'm gonna drape my reins over her neck without tangling them is the key. And I still struggle with that sometimes. So I'm just gonna gently ask her nose to come to me. I'm gonna put my bridle, you stinker. I'm gonna put my bridle in my right hand, and my right hand is what drops my bit down and pulls it back up. I'm gonna gently ask her to come back over here now that I've changed my hands. So I'm gonna line my bridle up in her mouth. Just gonna wait for her to relax a bit. Good girl. And then I'll take my fingers and gently ask her to open up her mouth. They don't have any teeth back here, so that's where I tickle, and that's where our bit sits. Oh, sorry, that was my bad. So let me bring her a little closer to the camera so you guys can see. You got it, come on. Good girl. So they have these front incisors here, and then back here they have a little gap where it's just gums, and way back here they have their molars. So the bit shouldn't be rubbing up on their teeth. Usually there's something else going on if it's rubbing on their teeth. Just, it can get set down. Thank you though. Okay, so I'm gonna gather up my reins. I'm gonna grab my inside rein a little bit tighter than my outside. And actually these stirrups are too long for me, so I'm gonna bump up my stirrups real quick before I get in. There we go. So you should have a slight bend in your knee when you're riding. English riders typically ride with a little more bend to their knee, especially in like any jumping world, because they've got to have a little more space between them and their horse as they're going over the jumps. But in the Western world, we tend to keep ours a little bit longer. So I'm going to tip her head towards me just so that if she goes to move away, I know where she's gonna go. She's gonna push that bum that way because they're almost always gonna follow their nose. Very rarely do they not. So I'm gonna put one hand up here on my saddle horn. I'm gonna bring my other hand over here on the other side of my pommel, and I'm gonna jump up. I'm gonna make sure my toes are rotated out away from her and my knee so that I don't accidentally bump her and tell her to go by accident. Good girl. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna bring her over here a bit. Oh. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flex her around on each side first. So when she flexes, she should be standing still and she should just bring her nose to my toes. That just helps her get a little flexibility up through her neck and even into her body. but it also teaches her to just stand still and be nice and calm when I get on. Good girl. I'll release there. We'll do the other side. I like to change it up, especially for Reina. Reina gets bored doing the same thing over and over again. So sometimes I'll do one side twice, do the other side once, come back. But I try to do it as evenly as possible. Again, so that we're working their muscles equally. But I want to kind of trick her brain a little bit. And I like that she's staying over here. That's really nice of her to be like, okay, I'll stay. So now I might even ask her to come back over here. Ask her to come a little bit more and then hold it. There we go. Now I'll give her her release. Good girl. Okay, so when we're in our saddle, we have kind of three main points that we use to move our horse's body. I guess technically 4. So if I bring my foot way up here and kind of bounce it, that's going to be telling her to back up. If I bring it up in here by my front cinch, I'm asking her to move her shoulder. If I keep it here in the middle, I'm asking her to move her rib cage. And then if I bring it way back here, I'm asking her to move her hips. So she's still kind of learning each of those points, but she's getting pretty good at it and pretty solid. I think we've been focusing more up here on her shoulder, so I think that's why she's letting her hindquarters kind of, I hate saying being a little lazy because she puts effort into it, but she's not listening to the hindquarter pressure as well, is because I'm not doing it as often. So we're gonna come back and reteach it to her. So to do that, initially I'm gonna ask her to flex around, and I'm kind of letting my reins slide through what will be my outside hand, and holding taut on my inside hand, or my outside hand. Sorry, that was confusing. I'm letting it slide through my outside hand while I hold tight with my inside. Then I'm gonna bring my foot back. I gotta kind of reposition myself, and I'm gonna gently squeeze by her hip. She should, again, plant that front foot and cross those hind feet. I feel her wiggling. There we go, she planted it. So now I'm gonna release. And I initially let them just walk out of it. Eventually I'll get to the point where I don't want her to do that. But for now, while we're figuring it out, I let them just walk out of it. Ooh. Good girl. So kind of same thing as before. I'm gonna stay on that same side until she gets really good at it, because again, they see everything out of one eye, or almost everything out of one eye or the other. Good girl. She's kind of fighting me on this bit, so I'm just gonna keep my pressure the same and just wait for her to relax before I give into her. And I might even shorten up just a bit and get her up here a little bit more. Come on. She's not really wanting to go, so I'm gonna take the end of my rope and kind of smack her, and then as she's walking, then I'll come back into this. Good girl, there you go. Good. So sometimes it helps to get that momentum built up first. Good girl. I try to give them the opportunity to do it from a standstill. Ooh. Good girl. Again, she's kind of fighting me on this bit just a little. So where she's kind of fighting me, I might go back to the flexing and just soften her up a little bit again. And I'm gonna make her hold it when we flex a little bit more. Ooh, good. So there, she's wanting to move out on me. So I'm just gonna hold my pressure the same until she holds still, and then kind of same thing where she brings her nose closer to me so that my reins aren't taut. She's kind of thinking. There. Good girl. Thank you for not running me into the fence. Oh. Good girl. Good girl. So right here again, she's kind of pulling on that bridle just a little bit. So I might kind of pop her just a hair, not hard. Come on. There we go. Okay, now let's go back into our hindquarters and see if we can get her to do it a little bit better. So I'm bringing my body up just a little bit more. Good girl. Than when I was asking her to flex. Oh. Good girl. Just to encourage her to walk. Oh, it's okay. There we go. Good girl. Is this all making sense so far? Okay. You've done this a lot, so it probably makes sense to you. Good. That was better. Good girl. Good girl. Good. So now I'm gonna see if I can get her to yield to a stop. So we're gonna walk around and then I'm gonna come bring her nose around and gently squeeze with my heel. Good girl. And then I'll relax and let her stop. That was pretty good. I didn't have to pull her nose very far to get her to do that, so that was really nice of her. When I'm asking her to go, I'm sitting up nice and tall and then gently squeezing through my calf, and I'll slowly ease into squeezing with my heel. If she doesn't go after that, I'll kind of bounce my legs and give her a tap through my legs. If she still doesn't go, you guys probably saw me do it earlier, I'm gonna tap her bum a little bit. So like right here, I'll tap her bum just a bit. I should kind of move that front end a little more than what I wanted. You thought about it. There we go. Oop. Don't run into the fence, silly. She says, I'll do it. Good girl. She's still moving that front leg. Still moving, so I might pull up on my hands a little bit more. There we go. Good girl. So for me, when I was, even now, sometimes I still have a hard time feeling what leg is moving. So you can always film yourself and watch it later and see if you're doing it. You can also get a friend like Braden over here. Braden will tell me if I mess it up. Or you can watch your shadows too. Because I remember being a young kid and I didn't have a phone. So you can always watch your shadows. Good girl. And see if you're doing it. Good girl. Good. So I kind of challenged her there just a little bit. I did less rein pressure, more leg pressure to see if she'd do it, and she did it really nicely for me. So now, keeping our momentum going, I'm gonna keep walking her, and then I'm gonna start to lessen up on my rein pressure and use more of my leg pressure and see if she'll do it. I'm gonna ease into my rein pressure. Good girl. Is this all making sense still? Cool, cool. Now she's gonna be like, wait, I'm next to a fence. I don't know that I can do it. I like that she walked her butt into that fence. That was really nice of her. So I brought that foot back. She didn't go with her hindquarters, so I'm gonna slowly ease up on my reins. Ugh. Okay. I'm gonna do that a couple more good times and we'll call it a day. Good girl. Good girl. You guys notice I'm keeping my reins pretty loose too. That one was good. A lot of the times, again, I don't always have hands to be constantly choking up on my horse, but I want them to make good choices on their own. So I don't want to be micromanaging them by having a nice tight rein, and they'll feel every little motion. You notice how Reina's backing up now? All I'm doing is moving my hands just a little bit, just my fingers, and she's feeling that. So you see she's collecting a little bit. I'm gonna lean back just a hair and she'll take a step with me. Versus if I have my reins way out here, I can keep them loose and she still feels that little bit of rein. But now what's happening is she feels it more on her neck instead of all the way up in her bit. So I just let them hold themselves accountable. I like to keep a loose rein. And then they're not constantly having pressure on their mouth. Does that make sense, Braden?
Yep.
Cool, cool, cool. Don't be a stinker. So her pushing her hip to the left isn't as good as her right, so that tells me that's the side we need to work on the most. So we'll keep working on that side throughout the week and hopefully she'll be better. We were out doing team sorting, good girl, a little bit earlier, and she did pretty good with her forequarters, but just not as good with her hindquarters. So that's something I really wanted to work with her on today, and she did fantastic. The nice thing about Reina is she's had quite a bit of training, and so most of the time with her it's just tuning her up and getting her good at it again, just of something that she hasn't done in a little while. But going back to the loose rein too though, I can make sure that my rein is nice and loose on the other side. If I start choking up on her on both reins, you notice how she like dips her nose in, she's moving around more with her forequarters. She's sitting here trying to figure out what I'm asking. She doesn't get it, but she shouldn't get it because it's not correct. But by having a loose rein, I just make sure that my pressure is what I want, and it's a good pressure. Come on, one more. Good. So a lot of students too, what they'll do, going back to the reins, is they'll come over here and they'll start pulling back because they're like, oh my gosh, my horse isn't going. Well, what that does is it gives them backing pressure. You see how Reina's like, oh, okay, I'll back up, even though both my hands were over here. So what we want to do when we turn is we want to come out and tip their nose. So then if I come back here, she's like, oh, stop. They're getting frustrated. They're like, come on, turn, turn, turn. She's like, I don't really get it. Good girl. So now that I've confused her, we'll go back and do a few more. We'll do them right this time. Good girl. Good. This way. All right, thank you guys for coming today. We'll catch you guys next time.